We find ourselves surrounded by furniture, much of which is made of wood, Nick. That's because people love to use wood in their homes these days.
Very much in vogue it is, Andrew, but wood, like bedspreads, like cushions even, is very much subject to the whims of fashion, and what we're about to have a look at is something of an emerging trend in timber.
It may not sound like high fashion, but remember the name Wormy Chestnut. It's looming as the next big thing in high-value timber products.
The thing that sets this product apart is the fact that it's not perfect. It's timber with a story to tell.
The distinctive characteristics that make Wormy Chestnut are a particularly one-off thing. They can come from the natural environment originally, anything from storms and floods and fire damage, or insect attack on a tree can put a whole lot of gum vein or stain through the tree that give it a really distinctive one-off appearance.
And it's a bit of an ugly duckling story. Those distinctive features which now make the timber desirable were, in the past, the same things that made it second-rate.
That's absolutely the point. In the past, a lot of these logs were probably quite undesirable. They'd have gone into lower-grade structural products, tile battens, pallet markets, that sort of stuff. But a number of our sawmills saw a niche with this wood and thought they could fill a hole, so they went to a lot of trouble to market the product and build those markets, and they've obviously been very successful in doing so.
The name is in fact a bit misleading. Originally, Wormy Chestnut was a species grown and sold in the US. Then someone noticed the hardwood from eastern Victoria had a similar kind of look, and some local sawmillers took a punt on the idea.
We basically picked that name up. We felt that we might have had an opportunity to sell that particular product back into the USA. We do, but we don't sell as much as what we expected. So we started to promote the name in Australia, and it's basically caught on, I guess, as light timbers have basically dominated the market over the last few years.
So traditionally, Hardy, this is the kind of timber you would have been looking for. It is blonde, it is clear, it is clean, no feature, but times change.
Nick, that is unblemished, but look at this, the Wormy Chestnut. It tells a story of the Australian bush. It tells a story of fire, of flood, of drought, and of beetles. It's not perfect, but that's what makes it unique.
It's taken more than a decade, but Wormy Chestnut is now a hot item in Australia, and demand is growing in markets around the world.
Oh, it's enormous. I mean, it's just growing. I've just been in China recently. The Chinese absolutely love it. We send it to Vietnam, we send it to the US, we send it to South Africa. But in saying that, most of it is sold within Australia at the moment, which is a very good thing.
And so, Brian, these are some pieces for some executive apartments, mate, and look at the blemishes. They sort of stand out, but they give it real character, don't they?
Well, mate, there's no two pieces the same. Now, every piece is a little bit different. As you know, the trees weren't all planted on the same day. It's a very valuable product when it gets to this stage. For stuff that used to be thrown in the fire pot, or hidden under a roof tile as a roof batten, have a look at this. Just great stuff.
With local sales booming and a growing export outlook, there is plenty of optimism about the future of Wormy Chestnut.
Our plan is to really double production at Bairnsdale. So we want to produce twice as much. It's still a relatively small amount of timber on world terms, and we think we'll find ongoing markets for that, but we're still in the exploratory phase.
That growth potential will depend on continued supply of suitable logs and continued access to native forest, as the story contained in the grain of Wormy Chestnut can't be manufactured in a plantation.
It's not easy to replicate the nature of this timber, given that the stuff that put it there in the first place was nature. It's fires, floods, insect attack, droughts, all the things that come with the natural cycle of a tree growing in a native forest. It's very difficult to replicate in a plantation.
So if you're in the market for that one-off piece or maybe a super stylish timber floor, remember the name Wormy Chestnut. It is the Cinderella story of the Australian bush, a traditionally low-value product that's now in high demand, and like all Vic Forest native timbers is grown and harvested to an internationally recognised certificate of sustainability.